Last year, I found myself rounding the corner into several different Irish books. I was just headfirst in the world of contemporary Irish literature. And I would always say it as a joke. I was like, what is in the water over there? Because I don't understand how such a small place is gifting us with just the sheer number of excellent writers. And that joke became less of a joke. The curiosity grew. And so here we are, seeing where the sausage gets made, or some less gross version of that metaphor. Gifting myself some time in the home of some of my new favorite writers. So I did try to do this trip once before. I booked it and I was trying to get friends to come with me because I was overwhelmed by planning. I felt I needed a vehicle and I needed people to be with me, especially because I was just traversing this rural landscape and I wasn't sure that I wanted to do that by myself, but it just didn't pan out. So at that time I did cancel my ticket and I sort of like tucked the desire for Ireland into a back pocket and tried to forget about it. And then the rest of these incredible writers filed past me and I rebooked with more resolve. I would go solo. And so here we are, or there I was in Dublin, finally. Dublin is actually a UNESCO site for literature. It's a literature city. I was very excited to do all of the bookish things in Dublin. I sort of used Dublin as a bookend for my trip. So in the beginning, I was just trying to get a lay of the land. I told myself that towards the end of the trip, we can go balls to the wall with all the bookstores in Dublin. But I did go to the Museum of Literature. This was on the top of my list. These cool exhibits where they had these microphones hanging down from the ceiling, and when you would stand beneath them, all of a sudden the narration of a poem or an excerpt from a novel would wash over you and you would see it presented on the screen. They had little placards with the excerpt that you were being immersed in, which was really cool. When you're in the east, you're very close to Glendalough and Wicklow, Kilkenny and all of that. So I took a day trip out to this and it was my first little dip into Ireland's beautiful, beautiful, lush nature.
Close the chapter, dignified. Damn girl, you did it again. But will it ever be enough? When I'm bent on trying to keep it tough, will I ever settle down? Happy with the here and now. When will it ever be enough? Ever be enough? Ever be enough? If only I could build a tower, pierce right through the clouds, saxophones at every hour. Who hasn't heard of me now? Then will I have had enough of trying to keep myself real tough? Will I ever settle down, steady even when it gets loud? When will it ever be enough? Ever be enough? Ever be enough? When will it ever be enough? Ever be enough? Ever be enough?
One of the things that I really liked about Ireland is that you would just be plopped into these magnificent sort of landscapes and it was just you and the earth. That's not something that I experience a lot. I live in New York, there are a ton of people here, and even when you go hike, you're constantly around people, but to be in solitude, to be in communion with just this vast thing. It was really trippy and really an experience. I got to feel that a lot. That was maybe one of my favorite things about being in Ireland, and so I am already planning my trip back. But one of the things that I would really like to do is sort of get off the tourist trail, spend some time in these like smaller towns and get to experience that a little bit more. There's this very welcoming energy around exploring the natural world in Ireland, but just being in shared spaces and exploring those shared spaces is something that is definitely encouraged there, or at least that's the sense that I got. So yeah, really excited already to go back. But then I headed to Galway. I took the train. This was my first taste of the train. It was a delightful experience. There's nothing more delicious than becoming really proficient in transit systems abroad. Me, the trains, and the buses in Ireland became BFFs, and I went to Galway. So when I was in Galway, I absolutely fell in love. This was like one of, I think, my favorite cities in, I take that back. It was one of them. It was definitely one of them.
There is a life I lead in this city, hurrying to cut my teeth. I can take what I need to get by. It doesn't make it easy. The other piece of my heart moves slow, somewhere in the great unknown. When I return from the afterglow, will you carry me like I am whole again? Wait, hold on, put me together, take me back where I belong. I want it all. I had a feeling, but
the girl that sat next to me, we ended up hitting it off, and we were like, you and me for the rest of Galway? Yes. So we kind of just hung out for the whole time that we were both in that city. I was sort of conflicted because I was like, ooh, I only have 3 days here. I could do 3-day trips, but I also really want to see Galway. So I did end up cutting out one of the day trips, and that was Connemara. And then every city I went to after this, people kept talking about Connemara, and I was like, did I make a mistake? I don't think I did. I think that just means I have to go back because I prioritized instead going to the Aran Islands or Inishmore. And this was one of the top experiences I had in Ireland.
feeling, but the feeling is all gone. The feeling is all gone. The feeling is all gone. If I could take you back to my youth and show you what I wish I knew, my will is strong with a place to lean. In the moment I hung desperately, the other ring on my wrist is gold, pairing with the light it holds. When I return from my skin and bones, I'm remembering the words you told me. Wait, hold on, put me together, take me back where I belong. I want it all. I had a feeling, but the feeling is all gone. Wait, hold on, put me together, take me back where I belong. I want it all. I had a feeling, but the feeling is all gone. Feeling is all gone. Feeling is all gone.
There was one bookstore in Galway called Charlie Burns Bookstore. This might have been my second. It was one of the top. I liked most of the bookstores that I went into, but this bookstore had such personality. It had all of these winding paths and giant rooms of different sort of themes. Their literary fiction section was brolic. It was huge. It was just like this wall-wide shelf of like the good. So stunning. For the most part, I had been on the coast, I had seeing all these waters. When I was walking in Killarney, I saw all of these mountains and I was like, little known fact about me, I am a mountain girl. I love me, you know, I love that. I love that landscape.
Manos, con el sabor de tu boca, suelto y me entrego a tus brazos, siempre deseado amar así.
Ended up hiking for a little bit, which was really nice.
Como el sol.
The end point of the hike was this beautiful lake. Again, I was like the only person there, and just being in those moments where you're all of a sudden made very small, you're able to sort of appreciate how vast and grand the natural world is. Took my breath away. My first day in Killarney, I actually did not even stay in Killarney. I hopped on a bus en route to Skibbereen with the intention to stop in this little town called Bantry. First of all, I mean, like, all of the landscapes in Ireland are gorgeous, but when I was on this bus, it was a very empty bus. It was like me and 3 other people on the bus, super empty. I took a seat in the back. I was just chilling. I pulled out my Kindle. I was ready to continue reading conversations with friends. I accidentally exclusively read Sally Rooney's on this trip. Not mad about it. But I pulled out my Kindle and I did like a double take because the views in Cork, or I don't know if that was Cork, but the views from Killarney to Bantry were absolutely batshit. Like, they were crazy. When I was looking at my map, it did seem like we were passing a park, which totally makes sense, but it was just like these undulating hills that ended in like these giant, I can't even explain it, but I was winded on the back seat. I was losing my mind. I was actually not able to digest what I was experiencing. It's funny because I had gotten on a couple of tour buses where like part of the tour bus is seeing the scenery, and nothing topped that random bus to Skibbereen. But anyway, we were passing these small towns. There would be like one little B&B, a cow drinking water from a stream, a sheep over here. I was like, the next time I come to Ireland, this is where I want to stay. I want to stay with this landscape in these off the trail towns. Bantry is in the west of Cork. There was actually a literary festival going on. Me and Liv from Live for Reading met up, and she is so delightful, so sweet. Her boyfriend's also the sweetest, and it was so nice to meet them. Bantry is also a very small town, but it was bustling this day for the literary festival. There were all these different food stalls. There was one guy who had like a pop-up used book section. And while I was browsing this little book stand, I found a signed copy of an Anne Enright. Actually, one of the books that I really loved, called The Wren the Wren. It was a fantastic book, and it was one of the books that I actually really wanted to get while I was in Ireland. It was signed and it was €2, so double whammy there. I was paying for the book and I was talking to the guy who ran the stall. I was telling him Anna and Raid's gonna be here tomorrow. I unfortunately will be leaving tonight, but I really wanted to see her, and we started talking. He was telling me a story, and these two girls came up to him and they were like, how much does just one of these trinkets cost? He like turned from the story and he looked at it for a second and he's like, take it, it's free. The girls were confused. I was confused. He was just wanting to tell his story. And I felt like that was such an emblematic moment. I saw in real time the drive for storytelling where he was just like, take the trinket. I'm in the middle of something very important. I'm telling a story. A really sweet moment. I think for the girls too. It was just like one of the many moments of kindness that I witnessed. The chat that we saw was with Caleb Azuba Nelson and Ronan Hessian. I hadn't heard of Ronan Hessian, but Liv was saying that she read Penenka and really liked it. Also Adania Shibley. We were at the reception. All three of us were just chatting and I turned and I saw Adania walk past me and I just turned to Liv and was like, oh my god. And then we just had to stand there next to Absolute Greatness and pretend that that moment wasn't happening. Yeah, it was really cool. The chat that we had with Caleb and Ronan happened in like this converted church, which is a beautiful thing. You know, there's all the history with the Protestant churches and the Catholic churches. A lot of the Protestant churches, we were told, have been converted for public use because there's not a lot of Protestants in the Republic of Ireland who use the churches. But it's like, I feel like all literary conversation should happen in a chapel. And that is my insufferable plug for this video. Liv and I had been talking about meeting up when I went to Ireland. She was in Cork and I wasn't sure if I would be able to make it to Cork. When I finally got to Ireland, with planning everything and the transporting and the moving, I was like, I'm not sure I'm gonna have time to see her. I didn't realize how close Bantry was to where I was staying in Killarney, so it ended up working really well, but it wasn't something that I had pre-planned. And it just goes to show that oftentimes the things that you didn't anticipate being something that you were going to participate in can end up being your favorite part of a trip, because that was truly one of the highlights of my time in Ireland. I really enjoyed that day. And then they drove me back like an hour to my B&B. Like, they're just so sweet. Liv, I love you. And she also gave me, oh my god, I don't have my keys, but she crocheted me a little strawberry to put on my keychain and it's the cutest thing. I'm so obsessed with it. I look out at it all. This is a place which shows all its history, all its personality, all the time. It can't help it. And it's not just the recent history, the flags and religion and borders. It's the mountains everywhere too. The coast, never so far away you can't drive there in an hour, usually less, always devastating. A landscape that won't let you forget that there was a time when all the earth would do was pull itself apart and smash itself back together, splintering one landmass into fragments and folding another back on top of itself, crushing it into ridges and valleys. It still does that, I suppose, but you only see it in hindsight.
Tus ojos se ven tristes, ya no sirve ni llorar. El sol volverá y te...
At this point, I was very endeared to being in nature and having all of these magnificent landscapes, and I was dreading having to go back to Dublin. I did not want to go back to Dublin, but little did I know that I was going to absolutely love my time here.
There is a life I lead in this city.
I was looking up my tour for the Book of Kells, and then I saw that you could stay at Trinity, and I was like, do I indulge in this silly little whim? Absolutely I do. And so I stayed in a dorm at Trinity College. I was like, I'm going to have my normal people moment, and in fact I did.
Carry me like I am whole again. Wait, hold on, put me together, take me back where I belong. I want it all. I had a feeling, but the feeling is
Trinity College. Do you guys do that too? When the clasp of your necklace comes to the front, someone's thinking of you, so you kiss it and send the love back. Anyway, yeah, we're towards the end of the trip. I have one more day here. My first few days in Dublin. Oh, I had like walking tours and things just to get acquainted with the city. I didn't have time to do my book hop, so I was like, I'm going to save it for last. I'm hoping that I have energy to do it towards the end of my trip, because usually by this point I am spent, I am done, I just want to like chill. But I have energy, it's all good. The transit system in Ireland is chef's freaking kiss. I've moved around the country through buses and trains, and it's been the easiest, most reliant, like most pleasant experience. I'm like over the moon. Tomorrow I'm going to do the Book of Kells, like the last little organized tour I have, and then I'm gonna finish doing my little bookstore hop. And then we gotta pack up because we're going back to New York. Did I tell you that I was reading Normal People? I was reading the part in Normal People where they're at Trinity on the lawn in Trinity. It was very meta.
Says he can't pass time, need all the girls in the county line, wet on papers and signs. Who says I can't take turns?
I did the Book of Kells experience. I did this experience kind of just like a mandatory thing that, as someone who enjoys literature and books and the preservation of books, should maybe do. I almost fully cried. I was not expecting to be so moved by this experience. Yeah, and that was it, guys. That was my little trip to Ireland. It was a really special experience. It's really nice to do these sort of self-directed studies where, I don't know, it was nice to find this thing that I enjoyed and be able to delve into it in this really like hands in the dirt kind of way. It was really awesome to see how casually the vein of storytelling thumps in Ireland. I feel like everyone who I spoke to, the way that they spoke and the way that they relayed stories felt very familiar to what I love about the books that I read by them. So yeah, it was a really special trip. I do have a stack of books here. I'm gonna turn this off, charge it, and then do a little book haul because quite a few books were acquired, but I don't know how long this is going to be. So I'm just gonna stop this here. Say thank you for coming along. I know this is a little bit adjacent to the kind of content that I usually put out. It's really nice for me to have this memory, and it's nice to share it for anyone who's interested. But yeah, I think that's it. We'll see each other soon. Bye.